Okay guys, so I'm going to start off with a patch technique that was actually demonstrated to me by Kyril. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but he demonstrated a really useful technique to me some time back, and I think it's time that I show this to the community because knowledge is power, and this is how it grows a community. So this particular technique has been extremely useful to me because it helps me create complex geometry really easily. So you'll see there under workspace, it's called patch. Now I'm not 100% sure what this particular workspace is used for, but I know I use it for one thing and one thing only, and it's that technique that I'm about to demonstrate to you. So we'll head into that workspace in a moment. But before we go there, in our model workspace, I'm just going to create a basic sketch, right? And we're going to be drawing this sketch in the model workspace, and then we'll be drawing that sketch in patch. But I'm going to be showing you that when you use patch to create the sketch, you'll need to use a lot less steps to create this piece of geometry. So oh, and for those of you wondering, I know I've got some buttons up here. In order to dock your panels up here, if you have a particular feature that you use frequently, you just want to go to that feature and then you just want to click on your add to toolbar. So that's how you can customize your toolbar. Just a quick demonstration. Alright, so let's create a spline. Just on any work plane, I'll select this one. Alright, so I'm going to draw out, let's just draw out anything from here, 50. Okay, actually, let's make something a little bit more complex. So there. Alright, so if you want to create this into geometry, I'm going to have to, because right now it's not a sketch, it's just a basic spline. So I'll have to offset this, let's say until about there, and then I'll have to connect these lines. So connect that and connect that, and then it will turn orange, and that means that we've actually got a sketch that we can extrude. So if I click on stop sketch, I select this the sketch, and you'll see now right click extrude, I'm able to extrude this out, right? Okay, so it's possible to create geometry like this with sketch, but let me show you how easy this particular shape is to do in patch. It requires a lot less steps, so I'm just gonna control Z is to undo this, and now I'm gonna head into the patch workspace, and you'll see it basically contains a lot of the similar tools that we see in the model workspace. There's just some different icons here, like we've got stitching, modify stitching, and we've got some patching and lofting here. But let's draw out a similar complex shape. So I'm going to be drawing out a spline again on the exact same work plane. So let's draw out something. Okay, so there we've got our spline. Now instead of having to offset this and then rejoin the sketches, I just need to click on stop sketch, and basically in patch we're able to extrude splines and just basic sketches without them being completed joined sketches. So if I've just got a basic spline like this, all I have to do is go to create and extrude, and now it says the profile that we want to extrude is the spline, and you'll see that arrow basically pops up, and we can just drag on the arrow. Now this isn't geometry yet, right? This is still very flat. So if you want to create this as a piece of geometry, like say, I'll just say new body. Well, I think this is this geometry? No, it's still a body, just basic. Is a basic flat sketch body. But if you want to actually add some kind of thickness to this, you just have to go to create and thicken. Then I click on this face, and you'll see another arrow pops up, and we're able to actually add thickness to this particular sketch. So any sketch that you can draw in here, you can basically extrude it and then you can thicken it. So this can really come in handy for creating complex geometry within Fusion 360. So before I head on to the next feature, I'm actually going to just go back again. I'm going to draw out another piece of geometry. So let's just say, let's see, something a little bit, yeah, alright, we'll draw that out. Okay, now you'll see I'll click on stop sketch, and again, if I want to just extrude this spline, I just have to go to create, extrude, determine its width, and just give it a width of 190, let's say, and then click on OK as a new body. Obviously you can extrude it symmetrically or one direction as well. Just like I said, the patch basically has the same features as the model workspace. Alright, so let's add some thickness to this. So create and thicken. Alright, let's give it about 20 millimeter thickness. Then click on OK. Right, so if you want to edit this particular geometry, I'm going to head back into the model workspace, and I'll be able to apply, fillets and chamfers to our geometry that we've created. So you'll see that in a moment. As you can see, I'm able to apply some basic fillets. Alright, okay, let's move on. Okay guys, so before I actually get into the sweep function within Fusion 360, I'll actually show you how you can project the shape onto a work plane that you can actually sketch on, right? So this is like complex geometry. It's got a lot of curves to it. So if I selected this plane and I right clicked, I can't sketch on this, right? But there is a way that you can project this particular shape onto a plane. So in order to do that, under sketch, you'll see we have an option here called project include. If we click on project, right, and we choose a work plane, so let's say I want to sketch this shape. Now it's going to basically project this shape as a flat sketch. It obviously won't have these curves to it, right? If we just want to project the shape, I'm going to select this plane, so this bottom plane, and then the geometry that I want to project is this top plane. So you'll see as soon as I click on that, it basically projects the shape with all my fillets onto that bottom plane. So now if I click on OK, we're already in the sketch function. So now I'm able to modify and edit the sketch. So let's say I wanted to offset this. Let's give it a basic offset. Click on OK, and then I'm going to use fillet just to round off these corners quickly. Remember, holding down Control to select more than one edge or one point, so that I can apply that fillet to multiple edges. Alright, so there I've rounded off the corners. I'm going to right click on OK. Now I can select the sketch, and let's say I want to make a cut through this piece of geometry. So now I'm capable of doing that. So I can right click, go to extrude, let's pull it upwards, and you'll see now I can make a cut through this complex piece of geometry that we've just created using patch. So that's one way to project sketches onto a particular plane and then make cuts from them, because like usually you won't be able to select this as a plane and sketch on it. So that's another quick tip just to show you guys how to project sketches. So play around with that, and then let's move on to the next feature, which is going to be sweep. Okay, so the sweep function is actually available under the create menu. You'll see over here sweep, and obviously if you hover over that particular function, it gives you a brief breakdown about what it's capable of doing. But before we actually use the sweep function, I'm going to be showing you how to sweep a particular sketch along this edge, right? Because this is quite it's a complex shape, right? So if you want to sweep a particular sketch along these edges or this path, we have to basically construct a plane along a path. So in order to do that, under the construct menu over here, you'll see plane along a path. So now basically it's asking us which path would we like to select. So I'm going to select this top path, and you'll see that it creates a plane on the path, and I'm able to drag this plane wherever I want to, and I can basically start sketching from that point. But I think I'm going to leave my plane over here because this seems like a good starting point. Then I'm going to click on OK, and now you'll see I'm going to go to sketch 2-point rectangle, and I'm able to sketch on this plane that we've constructed on the path. So I'll just select that. We are now currently in the sketch function, and I'm just going to draw a sketch here. Make sure that it's on the edge. Just draw, let's say, a rectangle. Alright, and I'll right click on OK and stop sketch. Right, so we've got a particular sketch on that edge of this path, and now using the sweep function, so I'm going to click on sweep, we are basically going to be able to sweep this sketch along this path. So under profile, I'm going to select the sketch, and the path is going to be this path over here. So as soon as I click on that, you'll see now it's already trying to make a cut on that path. So we'll change that operation, well, depending on what you're trying to achieve. If you want to make a cut on this, you're capable of doing that, but I'm going to click on new body, and you'll see it creates a new piece of geometry along that path. So this is where constructing planes along paths and sweeping can really come in handy to add even more complexity to already complex shapes. So yeah, that's one technique, another tip that I hope comes in handy for you guys. And I'm going to be showing you another way to use the sweep function. Right, so let's move on. Okay, so we have no geometry now, but I'll be applying the same principles of the sweep function to actually create geometry. So like I said, it's the exact same method. We'll just be drawing out a spline on this plane. So let's draw something out with some curves to it, because real splines have curves. Okay, then I'm going to click on stop sketch, and then I'm going to construct a plane along a path. I'll be constructing it right here at the beginning. I'll click on OK. And as you can see here, these white dots basically indicate the beginning and the end of our spline. So if you're having trouble finding where your start is, just look for that white dot. So I'm going to create a center diameter circle. I'll click on my plane that I've constructed, and now here's my start. So that just gives me an indication of where I can start drawing from. Let's draw out a circle over here. Right click on OK and stop sketch. And now, just like what we did earlier, we're basically going to be sweeping this sketch profile along the spline. So I'll go to create, sweep. My profile is the sketch, and my path is the spline that we just drew out. So, and obviously if you move this arrow over here, you can determine how far out you want this particular sketch to go. So that can come in handy. And this can also really come in handy for creating tubing, or let's say you've created headphones and you want to create cables. You can use this method to do that, and you can get creative. Any particular sketch that you draw out here, you can sweep it along that path. So get creative, play around with the sweep function, and yeah, just see how far you can take it, guys. And I'm going to click on OK. Alright, so let's move on to the next feature. Okay guys, the next feature I'm going to show you is called lofting, and the loft feature is available under the create menu. You'll see a loft. So basically what a loft is, it takes two different profiles and it creates like this geometry to create a solid body. And now the order that you select your profiles in basically determines its shape. So as you select different loft profiles, you'll see your shape evolve over time. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a sketch, one sketch profile. And the reason why I'm going to be creating one sketch profile, I actually saw this technique online, but when you create one sketch profile, it enables you to select different points of your loft, which will allow you to dynamically change the shape of the loft that was created. So I'm going to go into the sketch function, I'm going to select line, I'm going to select this plane, and now we're basically just going to be creating different levels, because on each of these levels that we're creating here, we're going to be creating a plane at an angle. You'll see it'll be construct plane at an angle. So I'm just going to create some different levels here at different heights. So let's go with 4 levels for now. Alright, so you'll see it's one sketch profile with different levels that I've created. So I'll click on stop sketch. Now we need to create a plane on each of these different levels. So I'll go to construct and plane at an angle, and I'll just select this line. Depending on what axis you selected, I know sometimes you have to rotate this 90 degrees, but okay, so I'm selecting that line. I'll click on OK, and I'll just repeat the process for every single line that we've sketched out here. So plane at an angle, construct plane at an angle, oh, not tangent, plane at an angle, select that plane. Right, so we've got all of our different planes that we've constructed here. Now we can sketch on each of these planes. So I'll start from the top. Let's create a center diameter circle. Right, we've got our center point over there, so I'll just draw out a circle, say that height. Now basically the power of lofting, it'll allow me to blend between different shapes. So if I have a circle here, I can draw a rectangle over here, and basically the loft will dynamically blend this circle into that rectangle. So let's try that out. Let's head to the next plane. So stop sketch. Let me draw a center rectangle on this plane, and let's head to the stop sketch, head to the next plane, let's draw another circle. Maybe let's see, make this one smaller than this one. I was actually supposed to draw the sketch from the center, but it's fine. You can still continue from here. I'll say okay, head to that bottom one and create our last sketch. So make this one like maybe really small. Right, now we've got all of our sketches on these different planes, and now we're going to use the loft function to basically create like a geometry or solid body from these different profiles. So if I go to create and I click on loft, it's going to ask us to select our profile. So I'll select the circle. Now you'll see as soon as I select this rectangle, it's going to blend between those two shapes, you'll see, and then I can continue selecting my different profiles. And this is just another way to create complex geometry. So you can use this to create bottles or like a vase, or it can really come in handy for creating complex geometry. Now I'll click on OK, and since we created this as one sketch, now we're able to basically click on these points, and I can drag up to dynamically change the shape of my lofted object. So you'll see that we can dynamically change that shape. So that can really come in handy for creating complex geometry. Okay. Right, so I'm just going to say a new design quickly just to get rid of that. And I'm going to show you another operation with lofting. So let's create a spline on this plane. Let's give it some curves. So let's start over here. Let's give it some curves. Right now, like just what we did earlier okay, wait, let me just click on stop sketch. Earlier we basically constructed a plane along a path. I'm going to be doing the same thing now. So I'm going to construct a plane along a path at the beginning. Let's sketch on this plane. Let's sketch a circle. Stop sketch, and then I'm going to construct another plane along a path, and I'll put this one right at the end. And I'll sketch on this plane, and I'll sketch a center rectangle. And now again, like I said, lofting basically allows you to blend between different shapes. So that's the power of lofting. And now I'll show you how we'll be able to blend between these shapes while using this particular path. So in order to do that, we want to go to create and loft, and we want to select these two profiles. Now you can see it created a profile between those 2 points, but you'll notice that it's actually not following the path. So we basically need to tell our loft that we basically wanted to follow along this path. So in order to do that, our guide type needs to be set to center line. Right? So now our center line is basically going to be this path, and as soon as you click on that, your shape will follow that path. So here we go. We've created a rather complex piece of geometry that would be really difficult to create using sketching. I actually don't think you can do this using sketching. That's why we use lofts. But yeah, that's how you go about using lofts. Play around with it, see what you guys can come up with, and let's move on to the next feature. Alright, so now I'll be showing you how to use the Revolve feature within Fusion 360. And as you can see, it says over there, it revolves the sketch profile or plane of face around a selected axis. Alright, so let's jump straight into sketching. I'm going to go to rectangle. We'll say 2-point rectangle. I'll select this axis. And let's just draw out, let's see, I'll draw this rectangle, click on OK, and then I'll go to line. And you'll see I'm creating a arch over here. I'm immediately creating an arch, and the way I'm doing that is, instead of because if I just click, right, it's just creating these straight lines. But if I click and I hold my left mouse button down, it automatically creates this arch for me. Right, so I'm going to create an arch over here, and then I'm going to just join it to our rectangle. Right, now just another quick tip: if I want to mirror this to the other side, I'll draw a center line over here. I'll select the edges of the sketch. I'll go to sketch, and then I'll go to mirror, and then my mirror line is going to be the center line that I just drew, and you'll see it'll mirror it to the other side. So basically what Revolve is going to do, it's going to take the sketch and it's going to revolve this. Well, you can determine how many degrees you want it to revolve, but I'm going to revolve mine 360 degrees. And yeah, it basically revolves a sketch along a selected axis. So let's click on stop sketch. You don't have to worry about the center line, you can stay there. We'll go to create and then revolve, and our profile, we're going to select these profiles that we just sketched out, and then our axis, it's basically I'm going to select this line over here, and this, as soon as I click on this line, okay, we've already got it on 360 degrees, but like I said, we can determine how far we want this to go, or we can just basically use this rotate slider to determine our angle as well. Now you see I select that bottom line, but you can also select a particular plane that you want to revolve around as well. So I'm going to put mine on 360 degrees for now. Make sure it's a new body. As you can see, it's revolved our sketch 360 degrees along that line or that axis that we selected. Now I'm going to show you another way that you can use revolve. Okay, so let's say we've got an object like this. I can basically make cuts into this object using the revolve feature as well. So I'm going to sketch a center diameter circle. I'll select this plane and I'm going to draw a circle here. I'm going to make sure that it intersects with my object. Just that little piece has to intersect, and I'll click on OK, stop sketch, and now I'll go to create and revolve. I'll select this as my profile, and this time my axis will be, I'll be selecting this, and you'll see that now it will revolve the sketch 360 degrees around the shape, and I've got my operation on cut, and that's exactly what I want to do. So I'll click on OK, and you see we've used revolve to basically make a cut in our shape over here. So, and now I can go ahead and I can apply fillets and chamfer. So this, I'll do that as a demonstration. See, I can apply a fillet, and now it looks like we've created one of those Beats by Dre pull head speakers. So yeah, revolve can really come in handy again for creating interesting shapes and complex geometry. And you can also revolve more than one sketch at a time. So let's head back into the sketch option again. I'm going to select the center to center slot. I'll select this profile. Let's just draw out a slot here. 4mm should be fine. Okay, now here's another tip. If I actually want to duplicate this multiple times or create a pattern, we're going to be using a rectangle pattern. I'm going to select all of these edges again. I'll go to sketch, rectangular pattern, and now we've got these two arrows, which means that we can basically duplicate this way, or we can duplicate it going up. So let me just do that again. So rectangular pattern. I'm gonna duplicate this 5 times. Make sure the distance between them is not too far. That should be about fine. I'll click on OK, stop sketch. Now I can select all 5 profiles. I can go to create and I can go to revolve, and then my axis, again I'm going to be selecting this. You'll see that it will revolve all 5 sketches along that selected axis, and I'll click on new body. And then again you can get creative. I'm going to select all of these bodies. Let me just scale it down. So modify scale. Just going to scale this down. Click on OK. I'll reselect all those bodies. And press M, shortcut M for move. I'll bring this to the front. Let's see here, let's just place this correctly. Make sure it's intersecting. You can get creative. So I'm actually going to make a cut using this shape that I just created using revolve. So I'll go combine. Our target body is going to be this shape, and our two bodies, I'm going to select all 5 of these. Make sure that my operation is on cut. Obviously you can join or intersect, that's up to you. I'm going to put it on cut, and you'll see that I've cut that revolve shape out of this shape as well. So again, just some more tips for creating and adding detail to your objects that you create in Fusion 360. So that's how you'll go about using revolve, guys. It's really simple, really easy to use, and it can really come in handy. So go ahead and play around with it. Alright. Okay guys, so I'll be showing you one more feature in Fusion 360 and we'll be using it with Revolve, and it's called Shell. And Shell basically allows you to hollow out certain sections of your design. Okay, but before we create the Revolve, I'm just going to create a quick shape here in Sketch. So just a basic shape. Okay, I'll click on Stop Sketch and then I'm just going to extrude this out symmetrically. So instead of one side, say symmetric, click on OK. And then in order to do the shell operation, we can select any of these faces and apply the shell operation to it. So I'll select this front face, I'll right click and then I'll click on shell, and you'll see it's basically hollowed out this shape. So and then I just need to pull on this arrow over here to determine the inside thickness. In this case, as you can see, the direction is on inside, but we can change that to outside as well. Or we can say both, right? So then we've got this arrow that can adjust the inside thickness and the outside thickness. Alright, so I can apply that operation to multiple faces as well. So I can select this face and let's say this face and click on shell. You can see we've created quite an interesting shell operation over there. I'm just going to put this on inside for now. Okay, so you can select multiple faces and apply that shell function to it as well. So just another example, I'll select that one and this one, and I'll click on shell. Okay, yeah, that's a little bit of a better example. So you can see there that it's two completely different faces selected, and then we can apply our shell to it. Right, so that's one way to hollow out geometry or create like these in 3D terms. I think they call it an inset. So that's another quick way of doing that. Okay, so I'll show you how to use the shell function with a revolve. So I'll just undo everything here. We'll create another sketch. Let's draw something out. Click on Stop Sketch and then let's revolve this. Profile. Okay, so let's say we've created geometry like this. As long as there's faces, we can shell it out. So I'm going to select this face, right click, click on shell. As you can see, it's hollowed this out for us. Then I can just drag on the slider. We'll say inside, and then I can go back, select these edges, and apply fillets and chamfers to those edges, just to make the object look a little bit more interesting. Right, so you can have a lot of fun with the shell feature. Play around with it, get creative with it, see what you can create. And thanks for watching my video tutorial. I hope you learned something useful from it. And yeah, thanks for watching guys. Goodbye.